Good afternoon, Whispers, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. I am your host, Sonya LaRae, lifestyle relationship counselor, educator, fashion psychologist, motivational speaker. Oh my goodness, Whisperers, can you believe we are back in this space again together? I am so excited. I'm always so excited to come in here at the end of the week. I've had such a hectic week, but a great week at that. I've done some dynamic things all week long. I told you all last week that I started a club on Clubhouse, which is called the Round Table of Intention. Oh my goodness. Myself and my co-moderator, Najem P. Lee, which you've heard on Whispers in a Bottle before, we are dropping jewels in there. I mean, literally, we are talking about such dynamic topics. You think I'm talking about things here? You should join us over there on Clubhouse. I'm telling you, if you're not on Clubhouse, get over there. It's great. It's now on Android as well as iPhones, and we're doing things. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, look, if you're here right now, make sure that you click the like button and subscribe. But most importantly, make sure you're sharing. Share us with all of your friends, your families, those that are in connection with you, because you know we are doing some dynamic things. You see at the bottom of the screen, our VIP listing is there. You need to join it so you can get our newsletter. The newsletter is full of dynamic tips as well as our featured cocktail or the mocktail of the episode. Now, because we're here on YouTube, we don't do the cocktail or mocktail on YouTube because you know what? We don't want to promote that or have young people seeing that. But if you join us live on our show, on Blog Talk Radio at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, we will have the featured cocktail mocktail of the hour. And I tell you, our mixologist that we have, he is from Rhode Island. He's a two-time champion mixologist at that, is bringing the fire. It is so good. The cocktail, oh, you all are missing it. So let me tell you, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, you're missing everything. I hate to tell you that, but you really are. So, I also have some other announcements to make too. And I don't know if I should tell you now or wait till at the end. So, you know what, guys? You tell us what you want. You drop in the comments if you want to know the surprise or if you want to know how, if we should do it now. You just let us know and I'll drop in and let you guys know. But I have something exciting to tell you all. So I tell you, with that being said, are you ready to get into today's discussion? I mean, today's topic is powerful. I mean, it is going to be one of those things that we're going to usher in. And ladies, let me tell you, if you're listening, we need you to take notes because this is such an important factor that we need to do together. And my studio is notifying me that there's a little kickback on my set here. So what I'm going to do is lower the mic just a little bit. And this way we don't have that kickback because we want you to hear everything that I'm saying. So I just lowered it just a little bit. So you know what? I see a lot of you guys in the chat box. So if you can hear me good and you still are on and we're good, just give me some thumbs up or some hearts or whatever you want to just let me know that you're right there with me. So this topic today that we're discussing is how to refine your identity. Woo! Just right there. That there is like one of those things. Like I told you, we're going to work on getting us some music or something because when we drop those jewels like that, it deserves some kind of acknowledgement. So, I start everything off with a clear meaning and a definition. But because this is a letter, we're going to start this off first with the letter that we received. So here we go, Whisperers. Listen, it says, Dear Sonya LaRae and Whisperers, I guess you have heard my scenario time and time again. I'm hoping you'll speak on this. I've been married for 22 years. We have one child that has been in college 1 year now, and I realized all of a sudden one night as I was sitting there, I had lost myself to my marriage, to my family, to my child, and I think all that I identified with was those two things. When did I become this person that I didn't even know? When did I change? How can I refine my identity? Help, Sonia. I'm tapping into you and your expertise, and I hope that you will address this. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You know what, Whisperers? First and foremost, I would love to thank our Whisperer who wrote in because this was a major thing that she discovered about herself. And so many times I do hear that so many people have lost their identity to their marriage or to their children. And it just is like, I like to start things off, like I said, with a clear meaning. So I want to give us that definition of refined because that is something powerful that many have to do. So let's get a clear meaning of that. So refine means to locate, rediscover, or regain. So when we're refining ourselves or we need to refine our identity, it means that we have to locate, rediscover, or regain it. Whisperers, I hear this often in regards to individuals, especially female clients that have lost themselves in their marriages. And this is actually something that seems to be a running theme. Whether if they've been married for a short period of time or even a decade. And it's common for many to feel like their whole identity has been swallowed up by their role as wife and mother. Isn't that something? Like their whole identity has been just taken from them. Like somebody just wiped it clear. We see that sometime in spy movies where they wipe the memory or wipe things clear, that they don't have it any longer. So your role as a partner is, and it definitely is, an important part of your identity, but it should not be. Notice I said it should not be the only part of your identity because no one asks you to give up yourself. Because don't forget, when your husband met you, he loved who you were. He loved the elements of what you brought to that table. Maybe you was this feisty girl, or maybe you was this girl who was a little edgy, or you just had this creativity about yourself. But he never asked you to give up your identity because now that you've become his wife, his confidant, his best friend, he would never think of you not being anything else but YOU. So, see, Whisperers, many times when you begin to lose your identity in your relationship, you tend to put your own emotions on the back burner. Because the back burner is actually one of those burners that's not as hot. Because if you think about it, when you're cooking, right? You have the stove set up, and the main eye is the one that is the hottest. Then you have the other one on the other side of you on the left-hand side that is tepid, that is just a little off from the main. But then you have that back burner that most people put food on that allows it to simmer because it's not as hot. And so that's what you do when you go into your relationship, into your marriage. You start to put yourself on the back burner where it's tepid. Oh my. I know. Meaning this, as you prioritize only what your partner is feeling, you may find you become confused or uncertain about your own feelings, as what you feel or want that becomes more of like a vague moment. Because, as women, we prioritize everybody else. We prioritize our family. If our kids need us, we are tapped in. I mean, we are like knocking on that door hard. If our mates need us, we are tapped in. We are their cheerleaders. We are going hard for them. But for some reason, when it comes to YOU, we tend not to go as hard. We tend not to cheer as loud. But why? Because we're worthy of that cheer. We're deserving of that cheer. And we should be celebrated for the dynamic women that we are. Remember, I am teaching you all that you must celebrate your small accomplishments. And you all know this is like a running theme through everything that I bring to you all. And I never want you to forget that. When I started thinking on this, it made me think of the question actually. And it made me start to think like, is it normal to lose yourself in a relationship? Is that normal? Well, in a relationship, there's an innate desire to feel loved and accepted because that's normal. That is just normal. But so often individuals give up parts of themselves. No matter how successful, how assertive or powerful some women are, the moment they become involved with a man, they begin to give up parts of themselves. Now, listen, you don't have to give me a show of hands. You don't even have to say it in the comments. But how many of you all are guilty of this? How many times have you seen that you start dating someone, let's say before you got married? You started dating someone, and all of a sudden, before you used to have your girl time, where you and your girlfriends used to get together, kick it, get your drink on, or maybe have your book club or whatever. And which, by the way, I almost forgot. I need to celebrate our book club that is joining us. And these ladies are dynamic. They're fabulous. They're out of Dallas, Texas, and they are the social climbers. Hello, ladies. They are in there just yesing and hallelujah and everything else in the chat box for me. And I love it. And they are in our private Zoom room. So listen, Whisperers, you all can even join the private Zoom room if you want to host. And I'll tell you about that at the end as well. But welcome, ladies. I did not want to miss an opportunity to really welcome them into this conversation. As I said that, a lot of times with women, they put themselves like they all of a sudden drop the girlfriends because now they have a man. Now they're focused on that boyfriend, and they got to be with him, talk to him, and they start to trickle away from their tribe of women. And see, it starts in the dating process. So you don't realize that you start to lose a little piece of yourself even while you're in the dating process. I know, mind blown moment. But, this is the other thing. There are times that we need to be alone. We need to refocus ourselves. We need to plant ourselves again, maybe connecting ourselves spiritually, mentally, physically with ourselves at times. And in order to achieve that acceptance of that partner at times, we notice, and I notice in working with clients, that they're willing to kind of drop a little piece of themselves off at the door. That's that level of starting to lose yourself. It's that level of when you're tapping out a little bit on you. And that's like something powerful that you're not even aware of because it's so subtle, you might even miss it. I know, whispers. I see it. I hear you. And unfortunately, what happens is that they find themselves with no life, or you just start feeling empty as it progresses forward. And you've been married for, as our whisperer who wrote in, 22 years. She realizes that, who is she? Where has she gone? How did she have this happen? Because see, those little deposits that she was making, that she was dropping off, was leading to her feeling empty and not knowing who she was any longer. It's such a trap that we have to be careful of. Your mindset has to be a different way of how we look at our families, how we look at our relationships. Because if we're not looking at it in a full body sense, we're going to miss it. We're going to start tapping out, and we're going to start eliminating parts of ourselves every day, more and more each day. And that's why this discussion is important that we're having, because I want to help you to tap back into it. I want you to tap back into you, because that's what is so dynamic. As women, we can be a multiple of things and achieve so much. And fellas, if this is resonating with you, know that if you have lost a part of yourself because of your relationship, and your relationship has circled around that one person, listen to this, let it sink into you. Because let me tell you something, I have a lot of male clients that this has happened to as well. And especially my male clients that are even single fathers, because their life rotates around their child. And they lose themselves because they're so wrapped up in their child that they don't even realize that they've lost a part of them. And everything has become their child. They can barely have a normal conversation with an adult because they're so speaking about their child. So this is not a one-sided table. And I don't want you to take away, whisperers, that we're only pouring into women, because whisperers, we are a full body, robust conversation. We speak on it on every level and tap into it on every level. But unfortunately, we see this more often with women than men. And that's the truth of the matter. Whisperers, being that no one is placing you all in these 2x4 boxes, why can't we keep being ourselves or celebrating us as individuals? Because see, if you realize that your mate is not expecting you to be in that 2x4 box, because when they met you, you was not in a 2x4 box. You was living life, you was bringing things to the table, and you was like just popping, because that's what they loved about you. But see, like I said, we made those little deposits along the way, and we started losing ourselves, started forgetting who we are. I tell you all the time that my mother always said to me, Sonia, never lose yourself, because when you do, it is the hardest thing to regain. And I never forgot that. And she told me that when I was young. Believe it or not, I think when she first told me that, I had to be about maybe 13 or 14 years old. And, because you're going through those different pivots in your life as a young person. And she never wanted me to lose myself or become anything else other than Sonia, because all my friends were this way or that way. They had the straight hair, and I had curly hair, and I have green eyes, and I have melanin in my skin. I look different. I was shaped different from them, but she always wanted me to maintain my identity. And she celebrated that I was so different. She loved that I was bringing me to the table. And she did not want me to eliminate that or change that. So as I grew as a person, and I told you all in another discussion, at age 16, I realized I was enough. And so in turn, I have been walking in my authentic self for all these years. And so, ladies, that's what I want to pour into you. I want you to walk with your authentic self. And sometimes we have to step back and pause. Remember, I told you the power of pausing? And fellas, you got to do the same thing. You have to step back and pause, because that pause allows us to refocus our minds, to recenter ourselves, and to see what we as people need to work on. And that means that we might have to tap back in to us, because we're losing little pieces and little fragments, and then people become fragmented. And then they don't know who they are, and they have these traumas. And don't let a mate decide that they want a divorce, but then you're now broken because you don't know who you are. You are just walking around in a shell. Oh, I could just go on with that. This is something very important that I want you all to really hear, okay? By tossing away your passions and interests, you lose your authenticity. So let me say that again. So by throwing away or tossing away your passions or interest, you actually lose your authenticity. I know. See, I want you to think about this. When you give up your identity, you now are also becoming someone that your mate doesn't even know. I always think about it in the sense of this. Like, I don't know if any of you all have gone to a foreign country, or better yet, a foreigner who has come to America and they decide that they want to become US citizens. In them doing that, they have to give up their identity or their affiliation with the country that they've come from to be US citizens. So a large part of them also is taken away, but they do have their culture that they can teach and they go forward with. But it is also a part of them that they lose. So it's the same thing when we do that to ourselves. We lose a part of ourselves, which is like incredible. And it's incredible for us to keep visualizing these little specks that keep floating away and they keep plucking away. It's almost like when you take the flower, he loves me not. And you get to that one little petal and it's that last thing that you pluck off and it's gone. It's the exact same quality, the exact same thing that happens within the mind, that helps us to keep losing parts of us and going backwards and falling back. Oh, so I guess by now you may be asking, well, Sonya, how do I uncage? And I like that word, uncage, my identity or refine my identity. You might be asking that by now. So, your girl has always got notes. I got stuff for you to take away and to write down. So, at this point, it's time for you to break out your notebook and your pen. If you haven't been taking notes before, it's time. Because these are the elements that I want us to really focus on. And I'm going to deep dive on these elements with you, okay? Because I want you to realize that we got to tap back in. You have to find you. Because when you're half, you're not happy. When you're half, you can't be present for you. And when you're half, you're definitely not able to walk with purpose. walking in your greatness. Remember? 2021 and beyond, growth mindset. Pivot. Don't be afraid to pivot, because this is the time that it is that we must pivot. So we're finding our identity. We're reclaiming it. What did the congresswoman said? I'm reclaiming my time. Well, guess what? You're reclaiming your identity. And you say it bold. Stand up in it. Yes, ladies, say it in the chat box. I'm reclaiming my identity. And that is the truth of the matter. That's what we have to do. Male, female, children, people in general. If you feel like you have lost yourself, it's time to reclaim that identity. It's powerful. So listen, here's the first one. Be involved, but don't over depend. I know, it's like a what? Yeah, you heard me. Part of any self-discovery journey is figuring out who you are in many different situations. And that's the truth of the matter. Remember to let your spouse help you realize who you are becoming. Because see, you all are a team. You all are a partnership. And that person knew you before you got married. That person loved every element of you before you said, I do. That person loved that spicy person, that creative soul, that impetuous man, that guy who was just out there just like being him, had that swag, as they say. And let me tell you something. They miss that part of you, but they can tell you what it is. See, just don't constantly depend on them reminding you how great you are. Because you don't need a codependency to tap into why you are dynamic. You don't need a codependency to tell you why you are the person who you are and why you should be celebrating YOU. Because if you do need someone like that, then maybe you was lost prior to this. Those are those moments. See, we want to make sure that we are speaking positivity into ourselves. Remember, I told you, we're going to do a talk. I'm going to do a talk on self-talk, the power of self-talk, and why self-talk is so dynamic and why we got to do it and get it right. Because see, what we tell ourselves, the heart hears it. So when we tell ourselves this, the heart hears it, which in turn tells us what? This here, right here, this gorgeous thing, the brain. And the brain develops it more. So if we're not telling ourselves positive things and we're not pouring into ourselves positive things with the words that we say here that go here, you're not going to have the success that you need. Moving to number 2. Remember that they, meaning your spouse or your partner or your significant other, they're on their own journey. They are on their own journey. Yep. Sometimes we play the victim in our relationships when we are doing or having hard times. I can't find myself because you don't support me. I have so much on my plate, the kids, the house, the cooking, the cleaning. But wait a minute. When do you set yourself as a priority? When do you move yourself into a section that says, okay, wait a minute, I need me time and love. I love you so much, but I have to take this 15 minutes, this half an hour for me. I've been with the children all day. I've had the house and everything, but I need that 15 minutes. Even it means that you got to go sit in the car for a half an hour by yourself that you can journal, or you go lock yourself in your bathroom. And even if they're knocking on the door, you just don't answer them. You have to do it. And dads, you have to do it too. You have to be willing to unplug some time and do it the same thing, because it's a two-way street. And I guarantee you, when you say that you need a break, your wife will support that. But don't be afraid to support her when she says the same thing, because you're a team. And a team has no I in it. Simple, cut and dry. You know, the mindset is especially detrimental to a marriage, meaning this: to allow your marriage and your sense of identity to flourish during hardship. Remember that your spouse has struggles too, that their hardship is the same hardship that you're dealing with. And sometimes that you guys are having the difficulties of the same. And that's when that empathy and that self-compassion needs to kick in. So remember that they, meaning your spouse, your partner, significant other, are on their own journey as well. That's step 2. So go into step 3. I don't know how many times I tell people this all the time. Start a new project. Whether it's a craft, it's a sport, it's a service, it's a new thing that you do, exercise regime, something that you need to do. Excuse me, we're in a different part of the studio, so you hear some cars and all because it's closer to the street. We apologize. But you have to find something that you can tap into, that can stir you again to be you. And maybe you are a person who you used to love to read, but you no longer do that. Recapture it. Do it again. Because it's going to build that beauty of you finding your identity. And start reading some self-help books. Self-help books. And if they don't resonate with your soul, come back and listen to Whispers in a Bottle. Because I guarantee you, we got a topic here that is going to pour into you and develop even a bigger, brighter you. Because that's what I'm about. I'm about pouring value into you. You need to reconnect with the joys that used to be joyful for you. If it was that you enjoyed painting, maybe you like playing video games. Why can't you play a video game for 15, 20 minutes to give yourself that decompression and to decompress and to refocus? Maybe you like to do yoga. Do yoga. Maybe it was breathing. Or maybe you was someone who loved to cook or to create new recipes. Do it. But tap back in so you can start to reclaim your identity. Learn to be disciplined is number 4. If your life feels like it's spinning out of control, decide to take it back under control. Keep a rigid morning routine. Sometimes we have to be a little more rigid with ourselves, especially when things seem so chaotic and so like we're spinning out of control, or everything is just on like fast. You got to sometimes take it off of autopilot. And at first, when you take it off of autopilot, the nose of the plane is going to go down, because you're not used to having to pull up on the rein, and you're not used to having that steering wheel with that friction and everything is shaking. But as soon as you can get it back in control, it stops shaking and it levels off. And that's the biggest thing. When we become more disciplined in the things that we do, putting together the routines, making ourselves more conscious of the things that we used to enjoy, that we're tapping back into that, I'm telling you, it's powerful. It's so powerful that it connects you like two magnets. Like when you put those magnets and all of a sudden you get them a little closer and they hit like that. Oh my goodness. And you know, it's hard to pull them back apart again. That's the same thing that we're doing here. We're connecting the magnets again, called you. So first and foremost, you're involved, but don't over depend. Second, remember that they, your spouse, your partner, your significant other, they're on their own journey as well. Start a new project and be disciplined. Be more rigid with yourself on your time because you are reclaiming you. I can't say it enough because that's what this conversation is about. But I'm going to tell you one of the most important things that you need to remember too. You need to find time to just be quiet. Because sometimes when we find those moments of quiet, and I always say that we need at least about 15 minutes. Because when you find that level of quiet, and I always close my eyes, it allows you to tap deeper into self. And sometimes when you tap deep into self, it's powerful. It has an ability to allow you to really focus your mind's eye on you. It allows you to kind of pivot and change the elements around you. It could be so crazy, everything spinning like 100 miles per hour. But it's like you step back and you take that breath and that 15 minutes of quiet channels an energy that is so powerful. And it's the dynamics of connecting with yourself that is beyond words. And even if you sat here for this moment while I'm telling you about this point, and you just closed your eyes and you started to breathe, taking a breath through your nose and exhaling out, and hearing my voice speaking to you and saying to you that you are worthy of loving yourself, you are worthy of tapping into you. And yes, self-discovery can be scary. It can be. Especially when you're not sure of who you are or who you have become. But once you can really tap into it and deep dive, it's something you'll never want to relinquish or to lose ever again. Ever again. And I encourage you all to really celebrate that fact that you are uniquely yourself. If you're having difficulty or you're not sure how or where you're supposed to be, or your mind is just not clear on things, I want you to join my masterclass on decluttering your mind, because sometimes that's what it all is. It's everything here that is jumbled up, and it just needs to be placed strategically in order so you can connect with yourself. Click in the description box. There's a live link there. The wait list is open. And I'm telling you, this masterclass is pouring into people in such a dynamic way. And it's helping them to declutter their mind so they're able to pivot, they're able to shift, they're able to tap back into themselves, refine their identity, and reclaim it. That's how powerful this thing is. That's how powerful this discussion is. Whisperers, I want you to know that as a woman and as women, period, we're always busy in our lives. And fellas, You know how busy you all are in your lives, providing for your family, providing for your kids, being the support, being the father, being the grounder. And it's a many times that you are losing yourselves too, because you're working, you got your work ID, you got your home ID, you got your boy ID, you got your, who in the world have I become? Well, Lord, have mercy, let me find myself. It happens to the best of us. But what I can say is this: it isn't selfish to do self-care. And you hear me say it all the time. There is no selfishness in self-care. Matter of fact, it's selfless. Because when we start taking care of ourselves, we start to nurture our minds. When we start taking care of ourselves, we start to identify who we are. And when we take care of ourselves, it helps our families to be whole. It helps our families to identify who they are. And so it's constantly that we're on this growth, and constantly that we have to make sure that we're recentered again. It is okay to pause and to find you. No harm, no foul. But see, you know what? Many times we forget to celebrate these beautiful qualities that we have, but I encourage you to start doing it. I encourage you to start celebrating the small accomplishments. Why? I know you all are like, why do you always say that? Why do you say it? Well, this is it in a nutshell, okay? Pay attention. It's important because it allows you to notice and pay attention to the present moment. Present, right then and there. It's not about, down the lane or anything. It's about being present. And that's what we need. We have to be present to be able to have those moments and to be able to reconnect with ourselves. And that's what that celebrating is about. Connecting with the moments. It's powerful. It's beautiful. Sometimes this is such an important part of keeping ourselves focused and moving towards better. Because remember, when we know better, we can do better. And it always keeps us moving towards our end goal. And the end goal is to know who you are, to celebrate the quality of the person you have become. And we all change in our lives. I mean, like, if you stayed exactly the same as you were like 10, 12, 13 years ago, that doesn't show growth. Because we do grow as people. But it's never that we should lose who we are or become a facade of who we thought we were. And sometimes people can do this to us as well. People can put us in these positions where we start to lose ourselves. They can start to make these little shifts in our dynamics. And we can't allow that. You cannot allow it. And it's never anything intentional, because remember, it's things that are done in purpose when it's intentional. So we want to have our intention, our aim, our focus direct. And our aim and our focus is directed at us. So we become the priority. So what are my takeaways for you, my beauties, my lovely whisperers? What am I giving you? Okay, so here it is. I want you to create a quiet moment to be able to reflect and meditate on yourself. What are things that bring you joy? What hobbies can you rediscover? I want you to learn to be disciplined. Don't forget that schedules can be your best friend. Because when we're regaining and recapturing ourselves, we have to be kind of regimented. We have to be deliberate in our actions. Setting out specific times to accomplish certain things that you need to do for yourself. That's that rigid kind of way. And the last thing I definitely want you to take away is this: the power of positive self-talk. Whew, you all don't know. I feed and nurture myself on the power of self-talk. I come up against a lot of things. I have a lot of different little obstacles that I deal with. I have a lot of stresses and different things and different elements that I'm trying to do in my business and my life and everything. But the power of self-talk is something that drives me harder than anything anyone else can say to me. And my mother was a sole believer of that, of what you tell yourself. That if you tell yourself something negative, it's going to be a negative. And I love her with my heart. And sometimes I miss just those words of wisdom that she would drop to me. Those moments when I could be on my low. She had a way of that scooping in and just placing the right statement there. But when I get like that, I recall those things because that's that power of self-talk. Whisperers, I tell you, I sit in this studio on Friday and the energy that I feel and the connection I feel with you all, is dynamic. And I'm grateful to be able to use my voice to pull in and pour out to you all constantly. I'm always grateful for the time that we share together, the times that we're in here. The ladies in Zoom are saying that how they want to show up now is by being present in every moment. And I like that. And they also said that self-talk is something that they're going to work on because it is powerful. And it's a moment that gives even beyond what you can discover or know. And that's what it is. So, we always have such great discussions in here on Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. So I told you I had something dynamic to also tell you all at the end of our lovely show. So here it is. We are celebrating 1 year of being on the air, and I cannot begin to tell you all how excited we are to say that we are 1 year old. Oh, yes, indeed. So next week is a celebration show. And guess what, guys? It is going to be so much fun. Your girl, Sonya LaRae, is giving up her mic to someone else that is going to be interviewing me, talking about our year's journey and a whole lot more. And so, I want you all to be a part of the conversation. So this is the thing. In the live, I don't know how we're going to do it yet because of how we have our broadcast here on YouTube. Because it's kind of hard for us to set up two different. So we're trying to figure it out. But this is the thing. We want you to be a part of that show. We want you to call into the show on Friday with your questions, what you have to say. If you have been listening and rocking with Whispers in a Bottle for 1 year, we want you to call in. The number, of course, that you'll call in at is 516-595-8091. You'll join us on our regular show, which is on Blog Talk Radio, which is located at www.blogtalkradio.com/whispers in a bottle. And that's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're live on air. And so we're going to be on there. But if you also have questions that you want to be on the show, but you can't tune in live, we want you to email them to us at info@whispersinabottlepodcast.com. So our email again is info@whispersinabottlepodcast.com, or join us on social media at Instagram at www.instagram.com/whispersinabottle_podcast. I believe it's at the bottom of the screen. So once again, it's on Instagram. Or if you like, you can join our Facebook group, and everything should be coming up on the screen for you all. It's in our Facebook group, and post your questions for next week's show. It is going to be so much fun. And I have to tell you, because we're wrapping our 1 year in a big way. It's not a wrap or anything, but I'm saying we're celebrating in a big way because it is also the last episode with our fabulous champion mixologist who had been rocking with us for the last 2.5 months. And so we are excited. I want to celebrate Drew because Drew is actually going to be with us at the last of the show and everything. And it's so dynamic. So guys, make sure that you're tapped into Whispers in a Bottle. Tap into me. Look, if you're on Clubhouse, come and join me. Follow me, Sonya LaRae. Also, my room there is the round table of intention every every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with my co-mod, Najem P. Lee. Of course, here, but I am so excited and I'm just honored to be here. Ladies, I'm looking forward to you all being on the show at 3 p.m., bringing the same dynamic energy. Thanking the social climbers out of Dallas, Texas. They're a 40+ book club, age 40 and above. As they said, they like to say they're mature, grown, sexy ladies. And they are doing dynamic things in this book club, and they're really just moving and shaking. So I appreciate you all. And listen, I look forward to us getting back together next week. Make sure that you all are safe. You have been listening to Whispers in a Bottle, Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. I am your host, Sonya LaRae, lifestyle relationship counselor, fashion psychologist, educator, and motivational speaker. And I am honored to say your host. And look, guys, be safe. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and listen, watch over our little people that cannot be vaccinated. All right, guys, be safe, and I'll see you next week for our celebration. Get ready to turn up with me. All right, bye.